Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into some fascinating new insights from McKinsey about a massive paradox that's literally keeping executives up at night. The big question? Why are all these massive AI investments totally stalling out? And how exactly does this new era of the agentic organization swoop in to save the day? We hear about AI everywhere we look, right? But actual, tangible business value? Well, that is a completely different story.
So let's just get right into this pressing issue. Companies all over the world have been pouring incredible amounts of capital into AI. They're expecting top-to-bottom business transformations. Leaders are spinning up pilot programs at breakneck speed, basically hoping AI will just magically fix their bottom line overnight. But as it turns out, translating a cool chatbot experience into scalable enterprise value is incredibly tough. The reality is falling way short of those sky-high expectations, and it's creating some serious tension in boardrooms everywhere.
And this stat really perfectly illustrates the disconnect. Get this. According to McKinsey's research, a staggering 80% of companies admit they're not yet seeing any bottom-line impact from these massive AI investments. That is a massive gap between the hype and the actual balance sheet. I mean, when 4 out of 5 organizations can't point to a definitive financial return, we have to step back and ask, what on earth are we doing wrong, and what comes next?
To figure out how to bridge this gap, we're going to break today's explainer down into 5 critical pillars: the great AI paradox, the agentic business model, reimagining end-to-end workflows, humans above the loop, and finally, leading the agentic shift.
Starting with part 1, the great AI paradox: high expectations, low returns.
Let's move right along to our second pillar, the agentic business model and getting to near zero marginal cost.
Okay, the crucial starting point here is defining what this entirely new era actually looks like. An agentic organization doesn't just use AI as some fancy digital assistant to, say, summarize a few emails. Instead, it integrates autonomous AI agents to fundamentally change how the business delivers value to its customers. The ultimate goal is driving complex, end-to-end workflows at near zero marginal cost. Basically, this means a business can scale its most complex, highly personalized services to millions of customers without the operational budget exploding at the same time. It completely shatters the old rule that more output automatically equals more cost.
To put that into perspective, just think about what near zero marginal cost allows you to do out in the real world. If you're a media company, you can now achieve hyper-segmentation down to a unit of 1. You're tailoring content and marketing to millions of individuals seamlessly, as if you literally had a million-person marketing team. Or think about financial services. Imagine your customers having personal AI agents that just frictionlessly move their money across different bank accounts in real time, hunting for the absolute best interest rate on any given day. If your competitor's AI can do this instantly, what happens to your traditional competitive moat? It's gone. It absolutely demolishes the barriers that have protected legacy businesses for decades.
All right, part 3, reimagining end-to-end workflows, moving beyond point solutions.
So right now, it seems like everybody is stuck on what we call point solutions. They're treating AI like a digital hammer to do one specific task just a little bit faster, generating a single code snippet or rewriting a memo. But the real magic, that happens when you stop optimizing isolated tasks and start using teams of AI agents to reimagine a massive cross-functional process in its entirety. Instead of just using AI to write a job description faster, how do you completely reinvent the entire HR hire-to-onboard process? Or how do you rethink insurance underwriting from the second an application comes in all the way to the final risk decision? That kind of holistic systems thinking is where the actual scalable impact lives. You're not just speeding up the old way of doing things, you're inventing a fundamentally new workflow from scratch.
That brings us to part 4, humans above the loop and the evolution of work. Now, this is a massive, massive paradigm shift for the workforce. We are so used to hearing about the human in the loop, where AI does a piece of a task, hands it to a human, the human does their piece, hands it back. It's basically a baton pass. But the agentic organization moves us to human above the loop. In this model, autonomous agents do the entire core process from start to finish. The human role completely transitions to executive function, providing quality control, pattern recognition, and critical judgment on top of the agent's completed work. Think about your own day. You're going to transition from being the doer of isolated tasks to acting way more like an orchestra conductor, guiding these autonomous sections to produce a perfect final symphony.
The American Arbitration Association is a perfect, concrete example of this from the source material. In the past, humans had to manually gather thousands of data points,
comb through endless contracts and emails, honestly, the kind of soul-crushing work that takes forever. But in their reimagined process, agents handle all of that heavy lifting. Steps 1, 2, and 3. They review the fact base, analyze both sides, build the timeline, and even propose a well-reasoned summary decision. Then we hit step 4. The human expert steps in, reviews this comprehensive package, and applies that critical final layer of judgment to say, yep, I agree, or hold on, the agents missed a really subtle nuance here. And because of this shift away from grunt work, a staggering 75% of current roles need fundamental reshaping right now. Just let that sink in for a second. 75%. That means almost everyone, potentially including you and your entire team, is going to need a radically different job description very, very soon. The jobs aren't necessarily disappearing, but the day-to-day reality of how you do those jobs is changing from the ground up.
So the skills we value most are totally flipping. While agents handle the data gathering and the repetitive execution, uniquely human skills are becoming a massive premium up and down the corporate ladder. We're talking strategic thinking, systems orientation, complex problem solving, and empathetic people management. These are the absolute essential skills of the future. Organizations desperately need people who can oversee multiple agents, apply nuanced judgment, and figure out how all these different pieces of a complex automated system fit together to actually serve the customer.
Finally, Part 5, Leading the Agentic Shift. How do we transform leadership and culture to make this happen?
This quote captures the urgency of the moment perfectly. There's a lot of fear out there, right? People are genuinely terrified of losing their livelihoods to automation. But leaders have an absolute duty to help their teams overcome this fear and embrace these agentic tools from day one. Because the real threat isn't a robot taking your job, it's the person across the street who learns to wield this new superpower before you do. Competitive advantage is absolutely going to belong to the early, aggressive adopters.
Of course, leading this shift means managing some very real risks. Let's be honest, there's a massive trust gap right now. AI hallucinations happen, and bad autonomous output can easily create way more work for everyone. So to manage this safely, organizations have to adopt what researchers call two-way doors. This means fostering a culture where teams can test out new agentic workflows, walk through that door, see what happens. And if it's a disaster, you just walk right back out. Failure shouldn't be catastrophic. You test safely, you iterate, and you pull back if needed, without betting your entire company's infrastructure on one unproven pilot.
And this brings us to a really tough pill to swallow for executives and managers. You cannot just dabble in this. You can't just tighten up an email here or run a quick data query there and suddenly call yourself an AI-driven leader. Ask yourself honestly, are you spending 50% of your time differently today because you're leveraging agentic AI? If the answer is no, how can you expect your team to? If you expect your company to transform, you have to radically rethink the hours of your own day first. You've got to walk the walk to credibly lead this shift.
I'm going to leave you with this one final thought to chew on. Change management today is no longer just an episodic event. It's not some project with a neat little start and end date anymore. It's a perpetual state of being, because this technology is definitely not going to stop advancing. So the question you really have to ask yourself today is your organization truly ready to embrace continuous, agentic evolution? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope it helps you navigate the incredibly exciting road ahead.